Let's talk about basic math. Let me share my screen with you. So in basic math, we have the fundamentals. So let's start off with fractions, decimals, and percents. So whenever we talk about fraction, it's a ratio. It's a like a rise over a run, a pitch to the run. So, a lot of people relate that to roofing or building construction stuff. But here we go. We have this example. I have this number written in decimal form, and I want to write it in fraction form. Well, we look at it. Any number in front of this decimal that is not a zero. Now, please don't get me wrong. It could be 1 0, but I am saying not a zero total here, right? Then that means this is a whole number. So this whole number is seen to be in front of the fraction. Oops, my screen is moving around on me. So this is 1. And then I have this fraction over here. Well, what do I know that goes in that fraction? Anything behind the decimal. And we count how many places they are. This is why it's important that you know the decimal placements. We got tenths, hundredths, thousands, and so on. So there's 2 decimal places here, so I know that 100 goes underneath it. And then I'm going to put that 75 on top. I don't need the decimal in front of that no more because this fraction represents it. But when I look at this, I realize that this can be reduced. So this is not my final answer. You always want to write it in its simplest form. So let's reduce it. Well, I know 75 is a multiple of 25s, right? And 25 is also a product of 100. So I know that 25 goes into 75 3 times. I know that's 25 times 3. I also know that 25 times 4 gives me 100. And if I write it this way, then I can go over here and reduce. I know 25 goes into 25 1 time. So what I have now, I have 1 times 3 over 4 times 1. And then this gives me my final answer. My final answer in fraction form is 1 3/4, which has a decimal of 1.75. Well, how am I going to write this in percentage form? Well, I know that whenever I have a number that I want to get into percentage form, I can move the decimal two places to the right. I'm writing slow. I'm trying to be neat, guys. To the right. I'm putting it in percent form is what I'm doing. So you grab it and you go 1, 2. This means this is 175%. That's a big percent because usually we just base percent out as 100. But if I want to undo, so I'm going to take this other one. Let's look at this one here. Let's undo percent. If I undo the percent, then that means we want to move the decimal 2 places in this direction to undo it. So let's grab it. Let's go 1, 2. Then that means my decimal number now it's not in fraction no more. It's in decimal form. Sometimes it ends up being in whole number form, but that's just different cases. So I showed you how to convert a decimal to a fraction, from a fraction to decimal to percent, and then undo the percent. I do understand, though, sometimes when we look at fractions and we kind of get overwhelmed, just take it in parts and know that you can do this. So I want to go over something else. So if this is all you needed, you can stop here. If not, I'm going to move on to another problem. Let me first check to make sure I don't have any more decimals. Now let's move on to the next step. I'm going to talk about mixed numbers, improper numbers, and improper numbers. And I'm calling them numbers. They're fractions. So let's see if I can use my pen. So give me 1 second. Get my mouse back over here. It's not going to let me use my pen. So here we go. Bear with me with my writing. So what I see here is this is a mixed number. And this is a proper fraction. How do I know that? A mixed number has a whole number with the fraction. A proper fraction has a smaller number in the numerator than the denominator. So anytime I see the numerator being a larger number than my denominator, then that's an improper fraction, and I can convert improper fractions to mixed numbers to improper. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because whenever we add or subtract fractions, we need to have a common denominator. And the most simplest way about going adding and subtracting fractions is to make sure that all my fractions are written either in improper or proper. Now, don't get me wrong, I could still add this way, but when we come over to subtracting, if we follow the same rules, leaving it in mixed number, we can accidentally leave a number behind and get the answer wrong. So I'm going to do it the simplest, easiest way, but if you choose to do it the other way, that is all right. Just make sure show your math, okay? Unless I request something different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this first one. Let's rewrite it. And what I know does not change is the denominator. The denominator does not ever change. And since this other fraction is written as an improper fraction, I'm not going to mess with it. So I look over here and I want to convert the mixed number to improper. First rule is I'm going to say 8 times my denominator times the whole number, which is 72, right? And then we're going to add it to the numerator, which is now 75. All right, guys. So now that I've done that, what I want to do next is, sorry, my screen flickered, is go ahead and combine these together. Get my pen going again. So I look at it. Before I can combine it together, rule number 1 is our denominators have to be common. And in this case, they are. If they're not, like over here, these two are not common denominators. So I would have to find a number that 5 and 7 will go into. Not the same amount of times, but they will go into it. And in this case here, I can see that 5 times 7 is 35. And the reason why I know to do that is because 5 is prime and 7 is prime. And whenever you see both the numbers prime, it's easier to multiply them together. And that will tell you what your least common denominator. Now let's get back to this problem over here. Now that I see that my denominators are the same, and my paper is messing up on me again, I apologize. Now that I see the denominators are the same, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my numerator and I'm going to write it over that same denominator. So now I got 75 plus 5, which is 80. And what do I see here? Anytime I have a fraction, you always reduce it to the smallest term, the simplest fraction, whatever it'll give you. Sometimes it gives you whole numbers, sometimes it does not. But I see here I have 80 over 8. And that just so happens to work out nice and pretty because I know that 8 will go into itself once and go into 80 10 times. So I'm left with 10 over 1, which is just 10. That worked out nice and pretty. And in the math world, numbers don't always work out nice and pretty. So I wanted to come over here and just kind of give you an idea of what I was talking about, our least common denominator. I just got through telling you a while ago that it's 35. That's because I took what's in the denominator, saw that they both are prime, and I said, well, I'm going to multiply them together, and I know that 5 times 7 is 35. So now I need to convert these to an improper fraction because I see that they're mixed numbers. And once I convert those to improper fractions, then I can turn around and then go through the process of getting at least common denominator down there. So let's do that. So now I got what I know is these denominators do not change when I'm converting it to an improper. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and write down my denominators. Let me divide this up a little bit so that way you can see it better. So we got to say 5 times 13, denominator times the whole number. So 5 times 13 is 65. And then I'm going to add whatever that product is to the numerator, which in this case is 4. So it gives me a total of 69. Again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the denominator. We're going to times it to our whole number, which is 56 in this case. And then we're going to add it to our numerator, which gives us a total of 60. Now that I noticed that my denominators are not the same, I already figured that out a while ago. So I got 35 as my least common denominator. That means I need to multiply this fraction by whatever it takes to get 35 down here. And I got to do the same here to this fraction. So I know, because we did this here a while ago, that 5 times 7. So whatever you do to the bottom, do to the top. And I know 7 times 5. And again, whatever you do to the bottom, do to the top. Gives me 35 in the denominator. So let's go ahead and put the 35 down there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 7 times 69. And I'm double checking. Don't want to make an error. It's 483. And then I got 60 times 5. It's 300. And now I can go ahead and subtract the numerator. So we got 483 minus 300 leaves me with 183. And since 483 is larger than that 300, we have a positive answer. Messy writing. So this is an improper fraction, right? If I asked you to leave it as an improper, then this would be it. But let's go ahead. I see that I asked for a mixed number or a proper fraction or a whole number or decimal rounded to the nearest hundred. So let's get both of these two, decimals and rounded and the mixed number. Let's go ahead and go the extra step. I'm going to have to write right here to finish this up. So since it is improper, I know I can convert it. What don't change is the denominator. So what I need to do is see how many times 35 will go into 83 or how close it will get there. And I know that it's 5 times. I know that 5, whoops, that's terrible. Let's erase that right quick. Looks like an 8. Okay, here we go. Know that 5 times 35, so 5 is my whole number. So what is 5 times 35? That is 175, and then I'm going to subtract the 83 from that 175, and it gives me a difference of 8. So here's my mixed number. Of course, now, if we wanted to know how to find our decimal, we can do long division. Our numerator, we're going to go back to the improper fraction, goes into the house, the dog house. Our denominator goes in here. And I know that 35 won't go into 18, but I do know it'd go into a total of 183, and we just figured that out as 5 times. Oh, guys, here's another way to figure out how to get our mixed number. Looky there, we can do this. There's our whole number. See it? So we said 175. And let's subtract that. This is using long division. Well, 5 won't come out of 3, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to borrow from the 8. So this is going to give me 13 now. This is going to go down by 1 in order for this to be divisible. And then I got 13 minus 5, which is 8. 7 minus 7, 0. 1 minus 1, 0. This is my remainder. Wow, looky there, guys. That's my remainder. We got our mixed number right here. Whole number, denominator, numerator. But since we're looking for decimal, we need to add a decimal here, add a decimal here, bring a 0 down. And now we want to see how many times will 35 go into 80. Well, we know that 35 will go into 82 times, right? 2 times 35 is 70. And let's scroll down just a little bit. So when I subtract that, it gives me 10. And I'm going to need to bring down a 0. And I said round to the nearest hundred. So if you get a number that's just continuously going, you're not going to see a stopping point. Look at what we got to round to. In this case here, I said the hundreds. So that means we need to go out to the thousands to determine what the hundreds is going to look like. And so I want to know how many times will 35 go into 100. And it'll go into it 2 times again because it gives me 70. And now I'm going to subtract. And 100 minus 70 is 30. So I'm going to bring another 0 down. And that gives me 300. So now, how many times will 35 go into 300? We know it goes into it 8 times. So we're going to stop right there because I said round to the nearest hundreds. And we're going to look at this thousands. And we ask ourselves, and it's just a simple yes or no. Is this number in the thousands place equal to or greater than 5? If your answer is yes, then that means this goes up 1. If your answer is no, then that means we just drop that number off and we're left with these. In this case here, it is yes. So I'm going to put approximately because it's not exact, because we are rounding. And my decimal is 5.23. Yay. So let's move to the next part. I did create a video on dividing with complex numbers. So definitely check that one out. I'm thinking about working this problem out in a future. I may do that in a future video. So if you really want to see it, just holler at me. I'll definitely work it out. I wanted to talk to you a minute about this last set, percentage and applications. So whenever we're solving application problems, I know it's overwhelming when you see numbers and you see words. I get that. In this case here, it's just one sentence. Sometimes you got multiple sentences and you got to break it apart, determine what is it actually asking and what do I have to work with that is actually relevant to the question. You are going to see this later when we get in dosage calculations. But right now, just for this problem here, it's just a simple question. It says, what? And is means equal to. And then we have a percentage, right? It's not a very good arrow. I was bringing it down just I was going to write percent. Of means multiply. And this is my number I'm working with. Okay, guys. Whenever we are working with percents in an equation and we're solving, you can't solve as long as it's in a percent. We have to undo the percent. So there's multiple ways to, or I say multiple, there's 2 ways to do it. We can either divide this by 100% or we can just use the shortcut and move the decimal 2 places to the left. It's up to you. So I'm going to go back and reword this. I got what? I'm going to name it as X. As long as I don't specify which variable to use, you can use whatever you want. In this case, I'm using X. So I got x is equal to, again, we got a percent, and we can't have it in percent. Again, if you want to, divide it by 100 or move the decimal 2 places to the left. And it gives me 0.65. And of means multiply. So now I have 0.65 times 500. I am going to line it up to multiply. And when I multiply, I got this 500 on top because it's easier. It doesn't matter if you put this 0.65 on top or the 500. So I'm going to start with this 5 because we always start over here when we multiply. And we go 5 times 0, which is 0. Again, 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. Now we're going to start with the 6. And if you notice, the 6 is in the second placement, second column. So that means I need to put a 0 here in order to start in the same place it's at. So now I got 6 times 0, 6 times 0, and now we got 6 times 5, which is 30. And now that I've got all the numbers done, I see that I have a 0 here. We don't really need another row, but if it had a whole number there or 1, 2, or 3, or whatever it may be, that means we need to make sure we start in this column here that it's in. But since it's a 0, I'm going to go ahead and not multiply it out because we know anything times 0 is just 0. So let's add it up. We got 0 plus 0, 0 plus 0, 5 plus 0, 2 plus 0, and then 3. This worked out nice and pretty. And now, the last thing I need to do is determine where's the decimal going to go. I look over here and I say, oh, there's no decimal places. I look here and I see that I got 2. I got 1, 2. And we add these up, and this tells me I only have 2 places. So I need to grab this decimal over here. That's right here. We don't have it, but since you don't see it, it's there. It's like money, you know, these are the dollar bills on the sides of change. Okay, so I'm going to grab this. I'm going to go 1, 2, and my decimal is 325. And guys, in basic math, I encourage you to go ahead and put the decimal in the zeros, but technically that gives me trailing zeros, and when we get in dosage calculations, you do not want trailing zeros. So that is my answer, 325. Now remember, on this one here, it asks for percent. So on this next one, when we solve it, you set it up, you say what percent of, well, I'm multiplying here the percent, whatever we're looking for, by the 170, and then we're going to set it up equal to the 204. So what do I need to do here? I need to take this here and solve for x, and since x has been multiplied by the 170, I'm going to divide by the 170. All right, so now I have x is equal to 204 divided by 170. Well, I showed you how to do long division a while ago, so I encourage you to keep it up. The more you know how to solve for the answers, the better you are. So when I divide it out, I get 1.2, but the question asks for percent. So that means I can multiply it by 100%, right? Or I can move the decimal. Or I can just move the decimal 2 places in that direction. And if I do that, what do I get? I get 120%. And that is my answer. Yay! So, guys, if you have any questions, please contact me. If there's any other math problems you'd like to see worked, just let me know. I'm happy to do it for you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.